Hey, Thomas, how are you doing this week?
I'm good. I just checked in on the Oscars. I figured I should probably slap you or something.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Speaking of that, yeah, this is the I'm Mike and this is Thomas, my co-host.
Mhm,
We co-host the first, the last of the Nerdom, and we just got done with our main show. We put it out live actually. Today's
mhm,
Wednesday or so, or thereabouts, and we this is our grab bag episode where we cover current events, current topics related to the Nerddom. Also,
mhm.
where we have our patent pending cringe corner and some other things like that. Pretty much anything that comes across the YouTubes that it's bears commenting on. We don't really get political or things like that. We're just here for finding good recommendations and giving our opining, as it were, on nerd culture. And boy, this week is no there's no slowdown. Pretty interesting what happened. We kind of covered it bits and pieces over the last few weeks, kind of coming in here. But with that being said, I'll throw it to you, and you can kind of tell us kind of catch us up on give us a little preview of what the show has in store for us today. I understand you finished something that was pretty fun.
Yeah, I finally finished Hogwarts Legacy. At least the main storyline. I've graduated Hogwarts. Uh, my school or my house, Hufflepuff, won out the year. Go me. um, and you get to name your character. So I named him Elric, uh,
Nice.
Melonbone, and
Nice.
evidently, as far as the game's concerned, he's considered they them uh, in the game.
Right on.
Um, but yeah, yeah, the game was very fun. If you're into the whole world of Harry Potter, you'll love the game. This game will not win you over if you're not really into the genre, but yeah, if you're into the world, it's set in the 1800s. So it's none of the characters are from the previous movies. So it's a whole new world, but the school Hogwarts is the same. So yeah, if the idea of running around Hogwarts and then uh going to Hogsmeade and the various places sounds cool to you, then this game would be it for you. No, there is no Quidditch in the game. Some
Okay.
people seem surprised by that, but I can understand that. That game mechanic would probably be a little bit too much to try to figure out for a game like this. So I can see why they cut that out, and they
Understandable.
could always add that in as added content. One of the reviews I read uh, kind of pointed out the fact that you pretty much kind of go it alone in this game. There's like three different characters that you interact with quite a bit with, but you're never really truly friends with them because they're not with you throughout the game. You meet up with them at various times, so that could be um, kind of a detriment to the game in that
Mm.
with the Harry Potter movies, there's always that sense of friendship and that there's that core of those three characters that's always together. Um, and in this game, you kind of go it alone, but that's sort of part and parcel to a game mechanic anyway. So that's kind of understandable. But
Mm.
yeah, that it is noticeable in the game.
Yeah, and speaking of this is one of those very rare games, video games that comes across that is multi-platform that becomes a juggernaut, and it has
Mhm.
continued to be a juggernaut. It's a great quality game, wonderfully inclusive. It has any kind of way that you would want it. That's my understanding. I haven't played it,
Mhm.
but living vicariously through you, and also reading, the internet's takes on it in YouTube. Generally, the all around a very good recommendation. And a little bit later on, I think when they figure out the PC equivalent or whatever, I might be mixing up my dates. And I think the PC one is already out, but I think it was a
Yeah.
little wobbly. But that happens. That can happen with it
Mhm.
really with any, but not anything that would prevent you from really enjoying it too much anyway. But of
Mhm.
course, it is first party PlayStation 5, so get it where you can. Wherever that may be for you. Definitely, it's not going to be an Xbox.
Oh,
I
it
don't think.
is out on
Oh, is
Xbox.
it?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay, I
it's a
stand corrected.
third party game, so yeah, it's out
Yeah, even
everywhere. It's
yep.
it's
See,
gonna come to the Nintendo in I think in
oh,
June. So
oh, okay. Well, then it'll even be even bigger too, because we
Mhm.
definitely have a Switch, older Switch, that will that I
Mhm.
might be able to dig into it. But in any case, yeah, it's setting all kinds of records here. I've kind of pulled up things in the background here while you're talking about it. But strong recommendation from us, especially
Mhm.
from Thomas from the first lesson Nerdom. Go if you're and I am not a Harry Potter aficionado or fan per se. I don't dislike it. I don't love it. I don't hate it. I enjoy things of it. Matter of fact, we probably should. At some point we should probably rotate and cover a couple of the Harry Potter movies because
Yeah.
it would be kind of fun to watch because I've only ever seen one from beginning to end. I don't remember what it was. The other ones I've kind of skipped along in the bits and pieces. There's some connective tissue there that's pretty cool, but um, holy crap, people love Harry Potter, and it's great to see there. It's your guys' time, your fans. It's your time to shine and really enjoy because this is rare. Video games, when it comes to big IP like this that is inspired by movies, they don't always have the best track record for really good playable games. And by all accounts, this is not that. This is a very playable, very enjoyable, very fun
Yeah.
game. So,
Um yeah, actually Warner Brothers has a really good track record with games like Hogwarts
good.
Legacy and Batman. The Batman series is really good.
Yep, Arkham. Yep, the Arkham
Mhm.
Asylum series. Like you're very, very
Yep.
true. That was always that felt there. It had I don't know how many iterations of it, but I definitely played a few of those. Uh, Never to completion, but played it enough to
Mhm.
buy it and enjoy it.
That's that's what she said.
Yeah, exactly. Uh,
Um,
Kind of skipping on here, I just want to kind of give a little plug to our channel here. We just did a live view session. We covered Vinland Saga this past week. Shout out to
mhm,
that. We did that live. So that was kind of new territory for us. I think we've only done a couple of
mhm,
those live.
yeah,
And then if you're watching this, you also will be able to see our PlayStation gaming session
mhm,
after dark thing that we're doing, and we'll see how that goes. But in any case,
yep.
love it.
We'll say all the bad words on
Yeah,
on that one.
yep. No, it's very adult stream, not safe for work. Just a Sunday evening kickback and enjoy it and see it. Tell us what you think. We love your feedback. That was anime we covered. We're going to be dipping our toe in 2023, and a lot more of that because it's just so widespread, such a beautiful, wonderful, big wide world to explore. Just like horror was for me when we started this channel. I was, very stereotypical off the street kind of normie when it came to horror.
Mhm,
Oh,
mhm,
you mean Friday the 13th? No, Mike. No, that's not what I mean. No,
mhm,
Mike. No.
mhm.
Here, watch this and then watch your mind be blown. And it has been blown several times for sure.
Yep.
But anyway, I digress. We might as well dip into this week's grab bag. And with
Mhm,
that fresh off the hot recommendation for Harry Potter, Hogwarts Legacy. It's out now. Thomas finished it. He says, "Go get it. Go play it." He's inspired me to want to play more video games for sure. And with that, I think we can jump into our lineup here in no particular order. We kind of covered this a little bit a few weeks ago,
Oh yeah.
and basically what this is saying is, I think when we covered this a few weeks ago, it was kind of on the bubble of like they're doing something with this. I'm all for it. It looks like it's picking up steam, and they're adding a couple more cast members, but predominantly from a very long running show called Supernatural. And there was actually, I think, a couple of those actors played in most recently that I can recall in mind that I think of when I hear Supernatural is it was The Boys. The Boys. One of the main guys
Yep.
played in that. Anyway,
Yeah,
really
I think the showrunner Kripke is showrunning The Boys now. Who
yep.
actually was the showrunner for Supernatural. So my older sister Claudia, who's been on our channel before on our Ghost episode. Shout out to that episode. She's a huge Supernatural fan, and she's become a Boys fan because of that.
Awesome. Oh wow, that's cool. I had not heard that. That's cool. Like that vector coming that way. But basically, this article is they're adding more. They're adding more folks, getting more steam. And I'm hoping that the quality that they want to make will bring quality. And I've been a big proponent of this, and you are too. Just give me, if you're going to do something or remake it, make it high quality. Take your time. Please avoid the pitfalls and the traps that the last 5 or 6 years that we've been to the tune of, like where we just have something rammed in our face, and you don't like it. Just tough luck, bud. You kind of like, I guess you just got to wait it out for a lot of things. There's a lot of folks that are in the fandom that feel like they're left out in the cold a little bit, but and we'll get into that a little bit as we go on, especially the heavy hitters. I'm all for this. I hope that I wish them best luck. And it looks like they're still developing it, and we'll see how it goes. But any commentary other than before we move on to the next one?
I will say I am sugar free today. I'm doing some Zevia, so I'll crack that open. But yeah,
Nice.
it's
Very cool.
It's a tasty.
Hey, and if you want to sponsor us, get in touch, and we'd love to have a sponsorship from that drink. That'd be great.
Definitely.
Oh yeah. Then actually, we kind of talked about this, which I wish we would have recorded, but we didn't. We had a little kind of fascinating conversation, which we might recreate or attempt to at some point. But this kind of reminded. This was in my newsfeed. I was like, oh, we just talked about the Lost a little bit. But I wanted to get your opinion on that. If you would watch this, because you really enjoyed the TV show, I believe, correct? Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah.
I did as well. I just had criticism for other aspects, sort of nerd things. But anyway, I'll let you take it away. What your thoughts on this one are?
No, I will do a shout out to Mega 64, Rocco Bodie. He's one of the stars of that podcast, and he loves Lost as well. So yeah, I'm all about Lost. I've loved it through the whole thing. I've got all the DVDs. I need to upgrade to Blu-ray at this point, but but yeah, I one of the things I did when I lost my previous job and I had a lot of time on my hands. I binge watched Lost and rewatched it. And one of the things that people will ding it on is that it really didn't know where it was going towards the end. But on the rewatch, there's little nuggets that they placed throughout the series that kind of tells you where it's going. That I saw when I rewatched it that I was surprised by.
Interesting. Yeah, I am, and we kind of got it. We might as well get into it here a little bit anyway. We were talking about. I said, hey, we were talking about. I brought up leadership, and so different TV series have different leaders, and those leaders are at different levels of quality. And my criticism is not that the show is great. Don't get me wrong. I was a little perplexed on the ending. But to be fair, I probably need to rewatch it because I haven't rewatched it in a long time. So that will definitely alter my opinion on it. But anyway, getting back to my little nerd thing there, a little nerd snipe, was the leader. Like, so you have different leaders like Rick Grimes from Walking Dead. He's a certain kind of leader. You have Jack from Lost, famously. And then you have the one that I was thinking about was Joel, the Pedro Pascal version of Joel on the TV show The Last of Us. In those three things, in my opinion, you have a good leader from Rick Grimes. He's the apex S tier, as they were. And then I would put Joel in between. In my opinion, a bad leader would be Jack in this series, which I think you took issue with a little bit, which is totally fine. And why we're having to rehashing the conversation, but or perhaps maybe not. I don't know how salty you feel about it, or not, or whatever. But anyway, my point being is that Joel is somewhere in between Jack of Lost and Rick Grimes. And anyway, I've never seen anybody do this, and I would love to do this. Maybe not. But I would love to go back and watch this from the and to test my hypothesis, which would be pretty much if you were to do anything opposite of what Jack picked, you would probably still be alive. And of course, that is wildly speculative on the topic, but it would kind of be fun to kind of do a little ribbing there. Or some variation of that. And in your opinion, he wasn't that bad of a leader. Or actually, I won't say what you said or what you will or won't say. But from that perspective, in any case, this is probably going to end in me rewatching Lost and then coming back and like really. I still feel pretty strongly about Jack because I have rewatched not the whole thing, but I have rewatched like the first 3 seasons of it. But not anytime recently. And I really enjoyed the first 3, first few seasons. And I don't know that it fell off or whatever. I don't know. That was kind of I don't know. It's been so long ago. This was like back like when where you showed up to network TV every week, and you were lucky to get the DVD series of it or whatever, because I don't think it was streaming anywhere. It wasn't until it was like, I think almost being done or a year after it was done before you could even do anything with streaming in it. Anyway, I don't know, but it would be cool to go back and watch a documentary. Regardless of the thing, Lost was a great sci-fi show. Arguably probably one of the best or better ones that had nothing to do with, space or aliens or, whatever. So it had its own fresh perspective. But anyway, I've yammered on a little bit. What do you think, Thomas?
You know what? There's I haven't looked into it, but there's sites that do the tier list that
Oh
presets
yeah.
for us. We should do a tier list of leaders,
I agree.
leaders in TV shows. We could throw Tony Soprano out there,
Oh
Walter
yeah,
White.
oh
But
yeah, that's right. We did. Yeah. Because our conversation that we didn't record, it was. I really wish I would have recorded it. But yeah, like there's all kinds of things there that go in that, and leadership is not one that I see brought up a lot. Because on the YouTube sphere, you have, oh my God, you have it's a paradise if you're a fan of anything. I mean, there are the Star Wars channels, the old school ones that I love that I still will watch, that will go into the technical details of a ship or two or whatever, or the technical aspects of the whatever. I love that stuff, especially if it's related that they do that for Warhammer, which I'm not really into. They do that for Harry Potter. They do that for Stargate. They do that for The Boys. They do that for comic books. They do that for everything. But it would be really cool, kind of like, like we're not a power scaling channel here, and we can tell you Superman 1 million is is more powerful than any other, than Goku, whatever. I'm just making fun, but some guys really get into it. But Lost is one of those fun ones that is more. It's one of those cool ones because why the show I think worked so well was because it captured. It became a cultural touchstone almost. Like where people like were like, oh, "Are you up to date on Lost?" It was like one of those cliffhanger kind of shows, like where you're like, you just didn't know what was going on. And I definitely fell into that when it was on, and it's fun that you can say that that you weren't just like rediscovering it, 10 years later or whatever. You actually got to see it. And I think that there's that funness there too, which reminds me of some of my favorite TV shows of all time, regardless of the leadership thing. I think we both agree
Yeah.
Mad Men is pretty damn good.
Well,
Uh,
I I think Jack maybe a lack of leadership plays into the fact that John Locke had such a presence on the show, and that he could challenge Jack. If Jack was an
John,
S tier leader, then John Locke would have no way into
hmm,
in appealing to the fans, saying, "Oh, well, maybe John Locke has it on lock." Yeah.
I will remember, and it's been a long time, but I do remember John Locke, the older gentleman, kind of
Mm-hmm.
the first few seasons, episodes, and we're not spoiling anything. There was kind of like the group was figuring out what the hell was going on, who was in charge. You had different factions that kind of developed a little bit, not to the degree of like reality TV, but akin to that. But John Locke, I always remember John Locke being like, "Oh, that's a pretty solid dude." And anyway, but we can get it. We'll have to do it. All this to say, we'll have to do like a Lost rewatch or something.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see. But yeah. Anyway, the point being, getting sidetracked here all the way in the weeds. But in the sand, in the beach, and the sea. There's a documentary coming out, so I saw that. I thought of you, and I was like, oh man, this is cool. This is really cool. I'll definitely watch this, and it's gonna get me in the mood to rewatch it. Maybe I was too harsh. I really didn't particularly like the ending. But you know what? You didn't. I don't know about you, but did you watch all The Sopranos all the way through?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah.
Did you like the ending at all? Where did you land on that one?
I watched it with our coworker Doug. I think you
Mm,
remember him. He
I
invited
do.
me. He invited me over. I didn't have HBO at the time, but he invited me over for the season finale, and I watched it. I understood it. I knew what happened at the end. But Doug was one of those people that said, "Did the cable go off? Did we not
Oh,
see the
that's so fun. You're right.
end?" He was very confused by the end, which isn't a good sign for your major series. I understand. I think
Right.
we had this conversation previously. I for a movie for a movie to end that way, I can understand, but for a long
Sure.
running 6 season show,
Hmm.
that's not how you end a series. Because when you have an anti-hero, I have a theory, which isn't crazy or anything, that you
Sure.
either have your anti-hero come to justice,
Right.
you have him be the superhero and succeed at the end, which is not usually how you would end an anti-hero story, or you don't end it like you did with the Sopranos. Those are the three ways you can end a series. And I think if you have your anti-hero come to justice, like in Breaking Bad, he has Walter White has an ending to his story.
Right.
No spoilers, but
No.
I find that ending way more satisfying than the Sopranos ending.
Mm. I get it. Yeah. When I saw it when I first saw it live, and or when I saw it whenever I get around to it, it was I remember kind of being like, really? That it? Okay. All right. I mean, I didn't.
Mhm,
I kind of was a little bit more negative toward it. I didn't hate it, but like
mhm,
I was like I felt I felt probably like a lot of other folks. I felt let down by it.
mhm.
But I will say this: upon rewatch of The Sopranos, which I've done a couple times, the ending makes perfect sense. Because a few episodes before that, there's this kind of dialogue where one of the main characters already got popped, and there's a flashback scene with Tony and this character, and this character is kind of going like, "Hey, do you think you actually hear the gunshots when they come for you? Like, do you think you actually hear that, or do you think you hear nothing?" Essentially, like of course, we didn't know that back at the time when you saw this episodically, sequentially, but upon rewatch, you know what's coming, and you kind of see it, and it grows on you. I think the ending, at the time, I think it was very controversial and like, what the hell? Whatever. Kind of sullied the name of it a little bit, but on rewatch, it works. And of course, we've had director has opined on what it actually meant, which kind of brings clarity to it. So maybe that helps baby folks.
Well,
Maybe that helps them
I
along the line. It helped me a little bit, but I kind of already knew that.
yeah.
If you rewatch the entire arc of Tony Soprano, you know that this is only going to happen one way. And he's slowly rejected by the world, by his by I don't want to get into the thing, but I might as well. By the psychiatrist, which is the whole pitch of the show. She kind of comes to the term with this thing is like, look, dude, you're flipping evil. You're evil. I can't do anything for you. Go away. And he takes that hard. Anyway, it kind of
Yeah,
it's a good show. Anyway, Walter White, I agree with you. Like that was way more satisfying than like a Sopranos ending for sure. You're right about that.
Right, and when you there's we've viewed a lot of movies on our podcast, and a lot of our movies that we've touched on have been very cerebral, and you have to get in that headspace to actually watch that movie. Whereas this series was very accessible, very much in the public eye, and I don't think it earned the ending that it gave us. In the sense that people like Doug was like, "What the fuck?"
Mm-hmm.
To the ending, and I don't think they earned the ending that they gave us.
I agree
Whereas
with that.
Breaking Bad earned that ending, and everybody was there. Everybody was understood that it was ending, and they enjoyed that ending. It was one of the things that we could do. We were talking about S tier is maybe S
Ah,
tier leadership. Also, which series ended well. Very few
it's true.
TV series ends well.
If you want to call out Walter White as a leader, you have to give hats off. He was a good leader. I mean, he had his downfalls, but he had the classic motivation of why he was doing what he was doing. Yes, he got caught up. He turned into a monster at one point, but he brought it back around. And I think he tried to make things. He couldn't make things right, but the
Mhm.
ending was very satisfying. And I think I asked you too, what was your opinion on El Camino, the Netflix follow up to basically the ending story for Jesse Pinkman? What was your how did you take? I can't remember what you said. How did you take
Uh,
that one as
I
an addendum onto the show?
I haven't actually watched that yet.
Are you kidding me?
I
What?
watched I watched the first 20 minutes of it, and then I was like, I'm not ready for Breaking Bad
Uh,
to end. Now Better Call Saul. I don't know if you
mm.
watch that series,
I
but
have
that
not.
one.
No, I've watched the episode or two, and you recommended it several
Mhm,
times on the show, but I just hadn't got around to it. And maybe because we were covering more nerddom, you didn't. I'm pretty sure that you recommended it. You definitely recommended it to me personally. To like,
mhm.
yeah, it's a good show. You should check it out. But you were satisfied with that, right?
Yeah. The first season or two, they were kind of getting their legs, trying to figure out what they were doing with the show.
Right.
But by the end of it, it's a master class in
Oh wow.
yeah,
Huh.
um it kind of reminded me of Elmore Leonard novel in that
Hmm.
it it paces itself and tells you a hard boiled story about
Mm.
a damaged people, and
Sure.
everybody.
That was Breaking
I
Bad to
think
a T, too,
yeah.
by the way.
Yeah, Walter White was a master class in a damaged person.
That's true.
Whereas this series kind of like Better Call Saul um, kind of does a scatter shot, and it shows you all these damaged people. Not only not only Saul, but all the characters in that series are damaged people, and and it's fascinating how fascinating damaged people are.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Yeah, no, that's kind of like where the draw comes in of like you have a very human character living a very mundane, boring, routine
Yeah,
life,
yeah.
and
If
it gets you sucked in for
yeah,
sure. Yeah,
yeah. If you ask me what is hard boiled, I would just have to show you this show, and you would
sure,
understand what hard boiled storytelling is.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and I recommend the El Camino. I think it's still out on Netflix. I think I don't know.
Mhm.
Well, I'll put it in the show notes a little bit later on. But you know, they're a little bit far afield from nerdom, but I think I'll allow it, and I know you'll allow it too because we're cutting across genre lines, universe lines, all this and that.
Mhm.
Kind of just to kind of put a pin in it, just with my observation, Mad Men was de facto one of my all-time favorite shows, and it could basically be one, or it could drop down to two or three. It's never going to leave top three. You know, the other one that I would throw in there would be Deadwood. That's a whole different thing. Very short run, very truncated
Mhm.
run, very good actors that later on did really great things.
Yeah.
And every time I think of Bob Odenkirk, I think of Mr. Show, and I think of that comedy series, and he's just a damn good actor and comedian too. He's funny. He's funny as hell, for
Yeah.
sure.
And I have to say something about Mad Men. I don't think said this in our last conversation, but Mad Men is one of those shows um, that everybody universally loved when it first
Mm.
came out. And it was recommended to me by our coworker. I keep naming our coworkers.
Oh yeah.
Steve Fisher. He was like, "This show is something you should watch," and so I bought it on DVD. And famously, I watched the first three episodes. Did not care for the show.
Mm.
Did not like it. But everybody kept saying Mad Men's good. Mad Men's good, and during my break from my job, along with Lost, I watched Mad Men. I was like, well, I have this series on DVD. I've never watched the whole thing. Let's watch the whole thing, and I fell in love with the show. And it's one of those few times where I started off not liking a show and then loving it
Mm.
by the end of it. So there's something to be said for revisiting things that you dislike because you might fall in love with it later on.
Yeah. It happened at a very a very interesting time for me when it was still on the show, and it was kind of like well, I won't get into personal things, but you know, it was kind of like I started the show in one state, and the show ended when I was in a completely different state personally, and all the things that went in. But that was one thing that I adored, and I could turn to and get entertained. That's the beautiful thing about entertainment. You can kind of put life on pause for a little bit. Life may suck, to be frank. Life really, really, pardon my language, but life fucking sucked back then, really, really bad. And it was kind of nice to kind of turn to this thing and follow this character who I already invested, you know, several years in. And I was very satisfied with the ending of that. Matter of fact, I rewatched it, I think, within the last 18 months for sure. And I'll probably do it again. But because you start watching, I did that with The Sopranos as well. But that was in preparation for like when they came out with their little movie. that didn't do all that great, didn't do all that well, but I got enjoyment from it. But then again, I guess a big fan of that. But you're also talking about consuming a million other things on YouTube that relate to that show that were a question that you had. I think they actually did a year podcast on the roll up to the release of the Sopranos movie, which was a prequel to it. They had all the main actors doing like a podcast that were talking about it that I kind of fell into. It was kind of fun. It's kind of like it's akin to, and this only applies to the fans, but the folks that back in the day when you'd have a DVD or a movie, the really good ones sometimes had hidden friggin' diamonds where they had directors take on it. You'd have a commentary on it, and when those are done right, my God, those are it's in the same vein as like a podcast for like, so you watch the show and then you tune into your favorite podcast talking about the show, and then you get that community effect. Same thing. It's the same thing. You're just having great conversation around that film or other things too, or movie or show or series, which is, I think, we're always hungry for, especially when we come across these things that we love. Anyway, we've been pounding the thing for our favorite things, but with that being said, Lost, Mad Men, Walter White. That is a fun show, and it just reinforces the fact that I should go back and pick up Better Call Saul because it's gone, and it kind of sucks because I'm probably going to kick myself because I'd be like, damn it, I could have been a little bit more engaged in it. But in any case, that just shows you how good it can be. To kind of do a segue here, how good we have it, how good it can be, and what we expect from our properties across time with the internet, with YouTube, social media, all that. We find ourselves into. I'm curious to get your take on this particular thing. I've heard different takes on. I don't know why that was all dialed up to 500%. Anyway, Dungeons and Dragons is coming out with a movie. I've heard some questionable maybes. I've heard some hell no's. I've heard some hell yeses. Where do you fall in this? Because you're more of a D&D nerd than I am. I just never really got into it, and there's nothing wrong with that or bad. It's just like some are kind of like back in high school. You had back in our dad's day. You had your AV nerds, and then later on you had your chess nerds, and you had your Star Trek, Star Wars, etc. But this is a Nerdom. Where do you fall on this movie? Are you excited for it? Are you not? What is your opinion, my friend?
I like Chris Pine. I'm not a huge D&D person. I did own graph paper at one point. I might have sketched out a dungeon on graph paper, but that was probably for Bard's Tale. I was talking to my old friend Walter, and we had some conversations about old school RPGs, and but yeah, it is what it is. I um I nerd out over directors and horror movies, more so than your latest Marvel property. So I don't know if I'm the target audience for that.
Prior to that, yeah. Well, and I think the thing that I've heard that people aren't quite sure about, and I didn't know about this until I talked to my brother-in-law, who's a little bit more connected into that world than I am, and you as well, and some other folks that I interact with on a semi usual basis, which is a D&D, some wacky, fun, crazy kind of things happen when you play the game, and you can get known for that. You could earn a nickname from like a travel or two or a session or two. And what I've heard is that people are worried that they're wondering how that will play into this, to kind of keep that. I mean, God, Dungeons D&D has been around for like how many years? Decades? 4, 5? So it's got a lot of different things bringing it. And this is probably, I'm pretty sure this is the very first strike into the big screen. I could be wrong on that, but wide mass appeal, go see a movie. Chris Pine, major showrunners, major actors to the property. Michelle Rodriguez is also in this, who's known to have a bruiser kind of character. I think that is also highlighted in this movie. So we'll see. I don't know. I would kind of. It might be fun. It might be fun for me I'm a normie compared to all this stuff. It might be fun to just go buy a ticket, see how I like it, see if it appeals. I don't know, but I don't have any plans to, unless for the show or something like that. But I hope Springs Eternal. At the end of the day, I just hope that whatever IP that they have, they do it justice, and they can make more of it, because it's good, of good quality, of good characters, of good everything, which
Well,
is sorely lacking in this day and age.
I'll give you the name of my character. The last time I played, I'll drop it, and then we'll leave it. Okay. My
Sure.
character was named Fernando the Gay Elf, and we can move on.
Right on, right on, right on. All right, moving on. So coming back to, I kind of warming up to a little bit more major IP that's more well known, to the masses anyway. So there is a video game that is supposed to be in the works for Suicide Squad, but for some reason,
I've heard nothing but bad stuff about it.
yeah, this is the first I'm hearing really big things about. I didn't know there's a Suicide Squad movie, but it kind of makes sense because, again, this goes back when we cover this when it broke. Zaslav took over, and he pledged that he would bring more IP or revisit a classic IP. But the end all be all would be, he promised that they would have coherent storylines that would follow across genres and domains. So whether they be video game or the big screen or the small screen, I really like that. I think that's really important. I'm glad that Warner Brothers got off the crack that they were trying to do a Marvel. They were trying to out Marvel back when it was a 10-year roll up to the end of the story at that point in time for Marvel. They kind of aped and cloned that a little bit. Didn't quite work out like they wanted to. Never quite fit. And then they just got in the weeds, and they kind of never really got out of that mode. So I really hope that they do justice to this. It could be. I'll be honest with you. I would probably never pick this up on the regular anyway. But whether it's good or bad, I'm just not that much of a DC Comics fan to like, maybe if I love the Suicide Squad, that'd be one thing, but not so much now. But we'll see. I don't know. Maybe I could see where it could be fun. But yeah, better to not release it if it's going to be a turd or whatever, than release it and then you have another black eye or another bloody nose, whatever you're going to call it, for DC and Warner Brothers, because they can't get their shit together to make something coherent.
It's by the studio that did the Arkham series, so you would imagine that they would do a good job. But I've heard only bad things about this property, which I think it made sense. They've been working on it for 7 years. I think 7 years ago, it made sense to have a property where it's, and actually it might be a good game for us to play online together. But I think it was geared towards multiple people playing the same game, which made sense in the Fortnite world of 7 years ago as opposed to now.
Every goddamn game has to be online only, and fuck your single player. Excuse my language, but like, it's so fucking annoying. Like, some of us aren't online always connected players, and that's anyway. That the world spoke, and it didn't fly, because they would just do this. They, being game publishers, would release an alpha, if not a beta, of the game, and then just drop it, and then we'll just fix it later, and it never materializes, and it's or hype also kills a lot of things for sure. But in any case, moving on, not much, but I hope, I really liked the last couple of Suicide Squad movies. They weren't They weren't great. They didn't epically suck either, in my opinion. And you're talking about two vastly different takes on them, where you had Will Smith for crying out loud before that became a black eye on him. But anyway, moving on. Meeting in line with video game news. He just dropped The Last of Us PC requirements. This might not be taken so well to the gamers.
You're not showing your screen.
I don't know. Yep. Sorry about that. Yeah. No, this was the one that I was talking about that we were just talking about earlier, just so for the thing here while we were talking. Anyway, PlayStation. We went from talking about the negative report on Suicide Squad, the video game, over into Last of Us PC requirements. I read this. I'm not very happy, to be honest with you, because why in the hell does it got to take like some ridiculously overpriced GPU from NVIDIA or whatever? Why? You're talking about a game. Literally, I bought the PlayStation 3 and physical media to replay the game because I'm into the show, and the show's good enough. It's not as good as The Walking Dead, in my opinion. It's not as good as or as good as the best of the last of or the whatever. It's fine, but it kind of it's okay. It's okay. Anyway, I don't know. Are you going to be playing this on PC? Or are you going to stick to the same rivers and lakes that you're used to?
Yeah, I played it on the PlayStation 3, and that's when I finish a game, I don't usually revisit a game, so it's done in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely going to be playing, do a playthrough with my kiddos because they love the show, and that's great. This is just another thing. I don't think we're going to be visiting the second version, but I don't know. I think this was a missed opportunity. I'm really kind of glad that I didn't go out and get a thing, because I'm not getting a new PC for this. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, come on, guys. Like,
yeah.
Come on. Kind of moving on. This is kind of going into the more controversial side of the house. Basically, if you're not familiar, Ant-Man 3 came out not too long ago, and it continued. It actually definitively, the bottom end broke. When I say that is, like, any other Marvel juggernaut that they released would be making hundreds, if not billions, of dollars for a long time. That era, I think, definitively has come to an end, and Disney is to the point to where they cannot. And we've revisited this many times. And we've enjoyed even newer films. We both enjoyed the Doctor Strange multiverse with Spider-Man. It was very gratifying. They did right by that. I think a lot of that has to do with Sony having a say in it, and curbing Disney's just relentless march to make this generic template Marvel movie where we have a wacky zany thing here, and then you introduce 2 or 3 other characters, and you're not actually focusing on that main character that's supposed to be about therein. And they've done that ad nauseum since the end of the Infinity Saga, where I think they both parts 1 and 2 made like over $2 billion, which is just unheard of. But they are not at those heights anymore. And as a result, and of course Disney owns Marvel and Star Wars, like anybody is familiar with. But basically, they're going to do the cuts on the Marvel side, and this puts in a lot of jeopardy for a lot of the phase, whatever the hell it is, phase 5 and phase 6 movies that are coming out. Ant-Man was supposed to kick off one of the starts of that, and it has not brought home the bacon, essentially. So Disney has to rework this. This has been a long time coming, and I'm happy to see it. I'll be honest with you, I don't hold out any hope that they're going to get a clue and realize they have X-Men, and they have the Fantastic Four, and they have a whole back catalog of tier maybe not tier A characters, but they hold enough. I'll be honest with you. She-Hulk was one of those on the line, that was already a known success and a known quantity, and they drove that to the ground. In my opinion, I've only seen an episode or two. I think you watched the whole thing. What was your opinion on She-Hulk?
No,
Was it
I bailed out a few episodes in.
right? And I think
So
that's true. Yeah. What were your thoughts here on the Disney kind of like getting with the program and recalibrating their their formula isn't working anymore? What do you think?
I'm bored with it. I'm not. Comic books are a fantastic medium. But yeah, the way that Marvel has translated it to the screen has worked so far, but they have to go back and rework things now. I think they've gotten far afield of what's appealing to the audience, which is quite noticeable at this point.
Yep.
So they need to get back to basics, and I don't know if they're ready to do that yet.
Yeah, I know what they're trying to do. And it was very easy to do that with Iron Man and Captain America, and da 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 da. Very easy. Those are relatable. I was there with the first 10 years or so. I loved it, just like everybody else. Loved it. It was a dream come true for a comic book fan. Did they do everything right? No. But were there more hits than misses? Absolutely. But this new Avengers thing, I don't. Who are your main characters? Captain Marvel, Ant-Man, maybe, as like one of the only two or three dudes on the team, maybe. I mean, and the other ones are like other female-led characters that are not very well popular, that nobody really knows about. I don't. The only thing that I can say for Marvel, for me personally, is Guardians of the Galaxy. I think I hope that what happened with Thor doesn't happen with that, but we'll see. I don't know. I can't find really any excitement in my heart of hearts to hold out hope that they're going to right the ship. At the end of the day, I just want good quality storylines and good quality characters. Even if it's templated and generic, it can work, and they proved that before. But they got to figure out another path, and they got some kind of reckoning's got to come, because like it can't go on like this.
Right.
I don't know. Are there any other Marvel properties that you even looking forward to, like even in the 2 or 3 year range? Like I know there's Blade. There's the Deadpool movie that's coming out. They're gonna win with those if they don't screw them up. But as far as like the core tier Marvel characters, you hold out any hope that there'll be something that will catch your eye as a fan and bring you back, or you kind of
Yeah, I'm
take it or
kind
leave it
of
at this point?
yeah, kind of noped out at this point.
Yeah, and that's how I was with Star Wars too. I think you're a little bit more into it than I am. But with that being said, I don't know, man. I hope they do better. But in any case, was there any other things you want to cover before we wrap it up here?
Yeah, I'm currently reading Silver Surfer. If you want to blow that up, it's a
Nice.
beautiful cover by Michael Allred. Him and his wife Laura. They they do the art on it. It's written by Dan Slott, which isn't my favorite writer, but the artist Michael Allred is one of my favorites. So I'm all for that, and I'm also been reading John Byrne's Fantastic Four run. This is the second volume, which is really good. So
Very cool. Yeah, I'll
that's
put those post production
mhm.
in the show notes here. Cool. Very cool. And with that being said, you have any other YouTube recommendations or anything? I don't have any this week.
No, I didn't have anything.
Yeah,
I
I'm so
kind of noped out this week, but yeah. maybe we could bring it for the gaming side
Yeah,
of things.
I think there's a comic book. There are some episodes that we wanted to cover. I think that we needed we'll revisit here next week. I think it's like 130. Well, it's way in the 130s, 131. I have them on my notes, but I think that would be fun to cover because it's fun to cover those comic book really good arcs. I don't have any YouTube recommendations aside from what we talked about here or there, but we are the first to last in the Nerdom. And we would really appreciate if you could like, comment, subscribe. This grab bag was kind of thrown together, and we'd love to hear your opinion. What are you? Is there any true fans out there that really are looking forward to the next Marvel, whatever? Are you looking forward to what's coming down the line? Of course, this week, I'll mention in passing, The Last of Us, the season finale is done. Not quite sure where they're going to go with that because of the thing. I don't know. I think season one is one thing. I'll kind of go on record and say I think it's going to be like The Witcher, like where you had the first season you showed up for. I did too. Second season, you were like, not so much. I stayed with it a little bit longer. But season 3, I can guarantee you, neither one of us is gonna. Even with Henry Cavill, I'm not interested. I'm not showing up. So we'll see. But
yeah.
Anyways, any other last minute recommendations before we go on to the game stream?
No, I don't think so.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I've been Mike.
No, I'm Thomas.
And we'll see you next week.
Yep. We'll see you next time.